evaluate the following integrals. So the first integral is x times cosine 5x. So here it seems impossible to solve it. Right? Here it seems impossible to solve it. So here we use something called integration by parts. Okay, it comes from when you differentiate two functions, u times v. Right? If you differentiate the product, what do? You use the product rule, right? So it's the first function's derivative times the second function plus first function times second function's derivative. Okay, the product rule. So now if you integrate both sides, right, let's say you integrate both sides. You can see here, you first differentiate it and then integrate it. You still get u times v, u dot v, right? And here it's the integration of this plus the integration of this. Which means what? Which means one of the integral, you can write it as u dot v minus u times v minus the other integral. Okay, it could be very, very useful. For example, here, right, let's treat this as our u. Let's treat this as our v's derivative. Okay, you can see from this formula, is equal to x times, right, cosine 5x. Then if cosine 5x is the derivative, what is a function? What is v? That v, it should be sine 5x over 5. Okay, so this is still my u, this is still my v. Okay, minus the integral of, so now x, you differentiate it, it's 1. Okay, this is the derivative of u times v, just copy it down. Okay, you can see. Why do we do this? Because after this, the first part, you don't even need to deal with it. Just copy it, right? 1 over 5, x times sine 5x. And here, the second part, just minus 1 over 5. You just need to integrate sine 5x, which is very, very easy, right? Integrate sine 5x. Now it's very easy. So just 1 over 5 x sine 5x minus 1 over 5. So sine 5x, the integral, it should be negative cosine 5x over 5. Right? It should be negative x cosine. Negative 1 over 5 times negative cosine 5x. So the result is this. Okay, don't forget about plus c, right? Because it's an indefinite integral. Right. Do you have any questions for this part? Okay. Then part B. Right, part B, you integrate ln square root of x. So now it seems like you don't even have a product. Right? What should you do now? Okay, you can always treat it as 1 times this function, right? It's still the same function. And now let's treat 1. Okay, because here it's very hard for us to integrate this part, right? So we just try to differentiate this part. So we treat this as our v, right? We treat this as our u prime. So it is just u times v, which is x times ln square root of x. Right? This is u times v minus the integral of u's derivative. So what is u's derivative? Sorry, u times v's derivative. Right, u times, so just differentiate ln square root of x, right? If you differentiate it use the chain rule. It's 1 over square root of x times half, right, times 1 over square root of x. Okay, which is 1 over 2x. Right, so it's just 1 over 2x dx. This part is u, this part is v's derivative. Okay, this part is u, this part is v's derivative. Then it's just x ln square root of x minus, integrate half. So it's just minus half x, right, plus c. Right, do you have any questions for this part? Okay, part C. Part C, you integrate from 0 to 1, x squared plus 1, e to the power of negative x. Okay, again, it's very hard to do the integration, but if I keep differentiating this part, after I differentiate it twice, I will make it disappear, right? Then this part is very easy to integrate. So that's why I just let this to be my u, right? Let this to be my v's derivative. Okay, it's just easier. So now it's equal to u times v. So u times v. So you integrate e to the power of negative x. It's negative e to the power of negative x. Okay, and now it's a definite integral, so you have to write down. Right, you have to write down from 0 to 1. Okay, minus the integral from 0 to 1. Right, u's derivative, which is 2x times v. Okay, so this part is u's derivative, and this part is v. Okay, so let's just first finish the calculation of this part. When x is 1, here is 1 squared plus 1 times negative e to the power of negative 1, right, minus 0 squared plus 1 times negative e to the power of negative 0, right, minus, okay, so here is plus 2 from 0 to 1, x times e to the power of negative x dx. Right, so this part is what? It's negative 2e to the power of negative 1. Here, this part is minus 1 times negative 1, which is plus 1. Right, plus 1. And then plus 2 times this thing. Okay. Right, then I have to get this part, right? So let's do it separately here. From 0 to 1, x e to the power of negative x dx. Right, what you again use the integration by parts. So let's call this u, let's call this v's derivative. So then it's going to be x times negative e to the power of negative x from 0 to 1. Okay, again, this is your u, this is your v. Okay, minus the integral from 0 to 1. Now u's derivative is just 1 times, right. So here is u's derivative, here is v. Okay, first part, you do the substitution, it is just the negative e to the power of negative 1. Okay, then your second part plus the integration from 0 to 1. Okay, just negative e to the power of negative 1 Right here, it's e to the power of negative x, negative from 0 to 1. Okay, just do it. All right, just do it so it's negative. Is there any mistake? Okay, so it's negative 2e to the power of negative 1 plus 1. Right, so then we sub back. Right, we sub it back. Right, so this part is just negative 2e. Right, it's just negative 2 times e to the power of negative 1 plus 1, so we sub back. So here it's negative 2 plus 1 plus 2 times this result here. Okay, which is just negative 6 e to the power of negative 1 plus 3.